Is replacement theory real?
Why do you really think they banned lead paint?
Why are the 49ers always hurt? Is it because of the EMFs? And what's an EMF?
For the anything and everything
And shit.
podcast, Justin and Eric.
What's
What
up,
up?
everybody?
Hey, y'all. What's going on?
Yeah.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thanks for
coming back
joining us again. It's another
Heck yeah.
day in the hood, you know?
Yeah, man. It's all good.
Make sure you like, share,
Good to see you
subscribe.
again.
Thanks, man.
You know, it's always a good day
Yeah.
to be on the podcast with
Freezing
you.
outside.
Man.
It's good
Dude,
to be inside.
we finally got our cold weather. We
Yeah.
definitely got it going on today and yesterday.
Definitely.
So,
Don't know how it is in your neighborhood, but it's been awful warm this year. And all of a sudden,
dude,
it's like,
yeah.
hey, you remember it's supposed to be winter?
I guess the East Coast is going to get hammered too, man. So I'm like, but I think we got lucky because they're going to get hammered.
I mean, we're probably complaining for no big reason, but at the same time, like I told my wife, it's booger freezing cold outside.
Dude, for real, this morning I had to go to work and throw out some ice melt for the peoples and stuff. And you know, it was just
Feel
gross.
bad for Eric because he's got to work outside sometimes. It sucks.
It's all good, man. I mean, it pays the bills and, you know,
Right.
keeps everybody fed. So that's what the
Right.
important thing is. So,
Right.
hey, and once again, much appreciated y'all for tuning in again.
Yeah.
We love y'all. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you all, our new subscribers and
hey,
everybody that's
hey.
commenting and everything.
Look what Justin did for y'all.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Justin's the man. So if y'all want one of these, man, just hit it in the comments. Sorry not to interrupt you,
No,
but
it's okay.
I'm stoked for these, man. This man works really hard to get this stuff going, and I appreciate it, man. So I would just like to say thank you. And hey, y'all want one of these?
Hit us up.
Hit us up, man. Hit us up.
We'll hook you up.
Get one.
We'll hook you up.
Right on, y'all.
Right on. Eric's got some cool stories for us today. We got one about what?
The lead paint.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, man, it's a crazy one, man. I've always wondered what, you know, it can make you sick. They say, but you know what? If you're not eating it, you're not breathing it. What's the harm in having it inside your house? You know, I mean, they still use it in all kinds of stuff. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So, Justin found us a cool video about this. Let's check this out, and after it, we'll continue talking about this craziness of lead paint and what you all think.
Yeah.
They lied about the jabs, they lied about saturated fat, they lied about Alzheimer's research, and it wasn't until I got x-rays recently that I started to question if they've been lying about why they banned lead-based paint. Now, I'm not denying at all that lead is an extremely dangerous neurotoxin, but according to the CDC, lead-based paint was removed back in the late 1970s because children could chew on windowsills or eat paint chips. Yet thousands of kids' toys have been recalled since then for being contaminated with high levels of lead, and we eat fast food every day with lead in it. Regardless, here's where it gets interesting. Lead is extremely effective for shielding electromagnetic radiation. If you ever wondered why they put that heavy apron on you when you get an x-ray and the physician steps out of the room, it's because you're being blasted with radiation. The apron, by the way, is made of lead. If our houses were painted with lead, would it be effective at blocking all the EMF radiation that we're exposed to from things like 5G towers? I don't know, and this is definitely some conspiratorial stuff, but after everything that's happened over the last few years, it feels an awful lot like the story of the boy who cried wolf, and I just want to know the truth. I'm curious to know, what do you guys think about this?
The release of lead into the environment poses significant risks to human health and the environment. We have known for centuries that lead is poisonous, and we know lead exposure is a serious threat to our kids. Lead poisoning in children can lead to lifelong, devastating health problems, reduced IQs, learning disabilities, hypertension, seizures, and in very serious cases, even death.
The last thing any of us want is for police to be able to use new technology that allows them to snoop on us in our homes from more than 100 yards away. So how are the cops able to control this very powerful technology? This technology comes with a tablet that is actually tied into artificial intelligence. So that as the police are watching someone behind the walls, AI is actually providing interpretive data so that the police can draw conclusions from what's going on behind that wall, and then it can actually record in real time what is taking place and take still photos so that this information could be used as evidence. You say, why was it set up this way? Because this technology in many ways was specifically designed for law enforcement, and there were mechanisms built into the technology that would allow police to be able to record and create still high quality photos while they're doing their criminal investigations.
L3's patented stepped frequency continuous wave radar technology and proprietary target detection algorithms enable Ranger to operate as a highly sensitive Doppler motion detector. Advanced packaging design results in the smallest, lightest through-wall sensor available today. The patented Ranger design contains 3 antennas. 2 of the antennas, a transmit antenna and a receive antenna, face towards the target area. Unique to Ranger, a third, rear-looking antenna faces the operator of the system and is used to reduce the false alarms caused by user movement or movement behind the user. With a conical field of view of greater than 160 degrees in both azimuth and elevation, Ranger operators are ensured a high level of confidence that a threat area is sufficiently surveyed by the device and accurate results are reported. When Ranger is in scan mode, radar waves are transmitted through the wall and into the adjacent room structure or area. The radar waves travel until they strike an irregularity and are reflected back to the receive antenna. The return signal is analyzed by a signal processing algorithm. If a target is detected, the alert results are indicated on the graphics display and illumination of the blue LED indicator light.
RangeR has been used as recently as 2015, and it's used by police to determine if human life is inside a building. The main difference between RangeRTechnology and Xaver is that RangeRTechnology requires the police to hold the device up against the wall to send radar signals through the wall to see if there's human life on the other side. Now with Xaver, you don't have to be up against the wall. You can be as far away as 100 yards and still detect micro movements and life behind the wall. Here is the problem. As I mentioned in my recent video about cell site simulators being used by police to invade your privacy, this technology is often used by the police for years without any checks and balances. And the MO, the modus operandi of the police, is to continue to use this technology until the courts find out about it. This is exactly what happened with RangeRTechnology. For years, we know at least 50 police agencies were using RangeRTechnology to detect if someone was on the other side of a wall in a building. But no one knew that it was being used until a police officer was placed on a witness stand and vigorously cross-examined by a defense attorney during a suppression hearing in a Denver courtroom. In that case, the police officer admitted that the RangeR device was, quote, a handheld Doppler device that picks up breathing and movement within a house. In that case, the police were trying to catch a man who had allegedly violated his parole. We have since learned that the FBI and the Marshal Service have been using this exact technology for years, with little to no disclosure or public notice, and certainly not informing the courts they're using this technology during their criminal investigations. So think about this. We have learned that the FBI and the Marshal Service had been using RangeRTechnology since at least 2012, but the courts didn't learn about its existence until 2015. So the real question here, is the use of these technologies legal? Unfortunately, the United States Supreme Court has not ruled on police use of either of these technologies, but they did rule on a similar issue back in 2001 in the case known as Kylo versus the United States. In Kylo versus US, the United States Supreme Court ruled that the Constitution bars the police from being able to scan the outside of a home with a thermal imaging device unless they have a warrant. And an interesting footnote, the court actually mentioned that the use of radar technology devices, similar to RangeRTechnology, could apply to this ruling as well. Even more specifically, in 2013, the Supreme Court ruled that they further limited police officers' ability to search the immediate area outside of your home through the use of a drug dog sniff. The reasoning behind this was articulated very well by Justice Scalia when he said this: "The core of the Fourth Amendment is the right of a man to retreat into his own home and there be free from unreasonable government intrusion." So let's be frank. You would think, based upon the Kylo decision and the Florida versus Jardine decision, that the police would have gotten the message and stopped doing all this stuff, right? Nope. Why? Because police generally have qualified immunity for their actions. And as a result of that, many agencies have shown a pattern and practice of only stopping illegal police activities if and when they get caught. For example, in the case of United States versus Denson, a fugitive hunting task force tracked a man by the name of Steve Denson. Now, this was headed up by the U.S. Marshal Service. They tracked this man to a Wichita home for allegedly violating his parole. Before the police forced his door open, it was exposed during testimony that RangeRTechnology was used in order to confirm there was someone on the other side of the wall.
Dude, that's some crazy stuff, man. Yeah, man, the reason I pulled those videos together is so that you could see, you know, like there's people that think that is a conspiracy, and then you've got the WHO that's telling us that, you know, it's not a conspiracy and how deadly it is. And then you've got, you know, people telling you like it's in food, man. So if it's in food, why are you concerned about it being on our walls? And that's why I wanted to show you the other video with the lawyer about how, you know, the police, we're not talking about like, you know, if you mess around in some government conspiracies and like have some kind of, you know, microchip, something that you stole from the Saudis and you got the military out there. We're talking about the police that roam your neighborhoods, have the technology to see in your house. It's like,
I've watched weird videos on YouTube where people have talked about white vans being sitting outside their house. They're like, they're watching me. They're listening to me. Yeah. And, you know, people just like, oh, you're just crazy. Why are they watching you? Why they, you know.
That was like some back in the day stuff too.
Well, right. And, you know, it makes sense to me. It definitely makes sense to me because I would just, the news this morning, they were talking about, you know, coffee cups and all that stuff. Heed the warning, I guess apparently a guy after 25 years of using his coffee mug got lead poisoning and passed away. So after 25 years of using that lead cup, I wonder, you know, so I guess it takes 25 years for it to affect you maybe?
I don't know, man. I know like we were talking about that earlier, and I know like nowadays they do have like BPA warnings and stuff like that on bottles.
Yeah.
You know, and even just a couple of years ago, I remember hearing about some having more than others, even though they're claiming to not have BPAs on their stuff. But I bet 25 years ago, they probably weren't watching that as much.
Well, right. But, you know, in the crazy, I mean, it's just weird that, you know, they still use it and stuff, but not in your houses. You can't have it in your houses, but you can use utensils. They use the paint still in warehouses, on bridges. You can still buy it, but just don't paint your house.
Right.
Why?
Well, and that's the thing. Like I said, you know, it's nuts that just the cops can do this stuff. Just like, and I'm saying just the cops because, you know, I can see that being some kind of military technology to save the world type stuff, but we're not talking about saving the world. Sometimes I've had cops come to my door. I don't even know why they were there, and I didn't want to answer the door. I don't want them knowing I'm there. And I have every legal constitutional right to not let them know I'm there. And even like this guy said, you know, they use all these words to ask you, you know, to give them permission to let them in like they're vampires or something. It's like, dude, don't. Just no matter what they say. And I'm not trying to be an anti-cop person. I'm just saying, like, I'm a person that's an American. We have constitutional rights, and you have to watch out for these guys because sometimes, man, like he said, they're using this information and they're not even telling anybody.
Yep.
They're putting it in there. This guy's almost getting off of a case because the cop on the first line said we had suspicion that he was in there and didn't reveal that they used the RangeRTechnology. It's like, okay, well, hold on, man. how many times has this happened? It's just like we talked about on the NSA thing.
Right. It goes with the same thing. I mean, illegal tapping and all that stuff. It's like, they're going around what they're supposed, they're supposed to be upholding the Constitution, not violating the Constitution. Right. So, and that's the issue with
all the 9/11 stuff where it was like, now we need to pass this act to where the Homeland Security stuff so that we can make sure that or just making sure that there's no terrorists that are taking some planes and running them into buildings around here. So we're going to have to violate your rights for it.
More propaganda to boost the government on what they can, more of their control over. Right. And that's, the Patriot Act. That's what it was. Yeah, I think it was called. It was the Patriot Act, where they could just tap your phone because they felt that you might be a threat, or just follow you around and just take everything from you because, well, they're the government and they can do that.
That's nuts.
It is. So
that's a cool story, man. Good job,
for
dude.
sure. Yeah, it was just one of those things that kind of crossed my path, and I was like, that is very interesting. I get that lead's not a good thing for you, but if it's in your walls and you're not disturbing it, it is kind of everywhere.
It's in your cups. We want to make sure that nobody forgets about that Minnesota fraud stuff that's going on, because they're showing all the stuff about the riots and everybody getting beat up by the cops and blah 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 to distract everybody from the fact that they are stealing billions and billions of dollars from all of us. Don't forget that.
This is the voice of the people on Common Sense News, where we hear what's really on the minds of Americans. So without any further delay, let's get to business.
What's wrong with you? Since when has it been something acceptable to impede law enforcement during a drug bust, during a drunk driver arrest, during an illegal immigrant apprehension? When? When have we been able to interrupt that? Never!
All right, this is for my white ladies. If you're not a white lady, you can stay. In fact, you can add to the conversation. But this is specifically for my white ladies. I don't think I can say that word. Whatever. Anyway, regardless, forgive my appearance, but I'm specifically doing this because I just got back from working out. I haven't had motivation to work out in a while, but now I do. I'm feeling like Sarah Connor right now. Terminator. I'm Ripley.
Are you kidding me?
The other thing is that you might have to put your body in front of an ICE agent. You might have to actually be, physically assaulted. So get to the gym. Ladies, get to the gym, start lifting. None of this namby-pamby Pilates bullshit. You need to lift. Go lift.
The psychopathic bitch.
Are we not taking the time on teaching our protesters on how to reclaim their comrades when they are snatched by law enforcement? Is no one teaching you the scoop and run? Is no one teaching you that? We have to stop moving from a place of fear. No more filming. It's time to get your elbows dirty, okay? Okay, when your friend's on the goddamn ground, stop filming it. Maybe 10 seconds of that, that's what you need. And then you need to get your ass in there and get the fuck on top of them. I'm tired of this shit. Y'all act like we don't have the means to do this. I've reclaimed plenty of protesters in my day. And I have gone hand to hand with these in this military gear. Fuck them, stop letting them control you.
You one crazy ass bitch.
I will not forgive. Ever. I will never forget. Ever.
Do y'all have nothing better to do? I mean, nothing in your miserable lives with your whistles and your short haircuts and your multicolored hair and your bullnose rings and your protests as baristas and fast food workers and librarians and your general ed studies and going into men's bathrooms and women's bathrooms and advocating for the worst things on the face of this earth. You guys, you liberal white women, are the most miserable human beings in the United States of America could be on this earth.
Don't come on my page and say that people should be in this country legally. Don't do it.
No! No! Shame!
He shot her because she was queer.
Are we f***ing great yet? Are we a great country? Is this one f***ing great?
A lot of people are wondering right now how in the world a person's brain ends up like this, because this is not how healthy, happy people act. Let me explain. Liberal women are what happens when the natural female instinct to nurture and defend and care for gets misdirected away from families and children and misapplied to whatever the liberal cause of the week is.
I am thinking, why would moms and like white liberal women follow ICE agents around? Like, what is the appeal there, right? Like, I know you guys think you're being heroes and all of that stuff, but I think that there's an underlying psychological need that you have that you might not want to actually admit to yourself. So I'm going to admit it for you. Now, before I say this, I have absolutely no background in psychology or anything like that. I just like to observe people and wonder why they're so stupid, and then I theorize ideas. And this is my theory on why a white liberal woman would want to put herself in the way of danger and, you know, try and go against a man. And I think it's because you're all sexually frustrated. Yeah. So you have primitive needs as a woman, but your like feminist programming doesn't allow that. So you don't know how to actually approach men because you were taught men bad, right? But at the same time, you're all bored and horny at home. Your husbands don't want to touch you, or they've completely left you, or you're married to a beta cuck who probably doesn't even get an erection anymore because you've demeaned him so much over the years that he probably doesn't even want to touch you, but it's cheaper to keep her. You know what I mean?
Dear liberal white women, we're tired of you. We are. Like, we are tired of seeing your face. We want you to go sit down somewhere. You got two choices. We want you to either be finished or we want you to be done. Pick one.
Women have been sort of weaponized. They weren't like this in the past. You go out and see the footage, there's women screaming, shoot me at ICE officers. They're physically fighting with these people, with the ICE officers. It's tons of women who don't seem to understand what the limits are and who they're dealing with. And I think it's because they didn't grow up testing it.
Like, this is the thing with all the people who make the videos online and, you know, with the, you know, I'm gonna fucking find an ICE agent. All those people, they're not serious people. You know what I mean? Do you know serious people? Like, have you ever met a serious person? They have like a wine collection. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, I just got back from Paris, and you know, they're doing stuff, right? These people aren't serious people, and you know, we've given a voice to too many losers.
The American people stand behind what we voted for. We don't want to see anybody lose their life. So we should all be calling on these Democrat politicians to stop the lies and stop putting these people in danger by telling them they need to get out and fight. Tim Walz is a disgusting human being. The mayor of Minneapolis is a disgusting human being. It's gonna stop. One way or another, it's gonna stop. That's common sense.
Visit Minnesota, a land of beauty, where more than 10,000 sparkling lakes reflect endless blue skies. Just as memorable as the scenery are the people who call Minnesota home. Minnesotans embody a spirit of kindness and community that visitors feel instantly. If it's cultural diversity you're looking for, we have that too. From angry Somalis to angry lesbians, Minnesota has it all. But Minnesota is so much more. Enjoy winter sports, we have hockey and skiing, and bashing law enforcement SUVs with a metal pipe. Fun, Looking to go out in the evening for entertainment? Check out Minnesota's vibrant music scene. Or maybe an exciting fireworks show is more your speed. And of course, if you just want to spend hours practicing saying someone's name, you've come to the right place. What about the food? Shall we talk about the food? Okay, let's not talk about the food. But if it's cultural enrichment you're after, you can visit one of our world-class leering centers to leer even more about the fine state of Minnesota. So, if you've always wanted to visit Somalia, but are concerned it's too far away, come to Minnesota. Minnesota, because Somalia is too far away.
She's a professional paid protester. Let me show you how. Here she is at the International Workers' Day protest. Here she is again at a pro-Iran rally, at an anti-Trump demonstration, and leading a protest outside Atlanta's Icefield office. And she's never alone. Always accompanied by the same woman who I've nicknamed Crazy Babushka. Here they are together at multiple Atlanta protests. So here's footage of me asking them what group are they affiliated with.
What does your shirt say?
It says Party for Socialism and Liberation. I'm an organizer with the PSL.
Okay. Liberation for what?
Liberation for all oppressed nations and all nations fighting against U.S. imperialism.
Their highly organized and coordinated efforts prompted me to investigate their funding. And what I uncovered is a scary foreign influence campaign. The Party for Socialism and Liberation distributes funds to its chapters across the country, including those in Atlanta and Los Angeles. These funds are used to pay protesters like the woman in the red shirt to organize and attend demonstrations. This is the same group that is behind the recent LA riots. Notice the red shirts in LA matching those I filmed in Atlanta? Their funding comes from a $20 million donation by a nonprofit run by Nival Roy Singham, whose wife serves as a board member of that nonprofit. It's simple. $20 million is funneled to the United Community Fund, which then funnels money to PSL.
Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris. He's here this week with his billionaire sugar daddy, Alex Soros, and Davos is the perfect place for a man who, when everyone else was on lockdown, when he was having people arrested for going to church, he was having $1,000 a night meals at the French Laundry, and I'm sure the California people won't forget that. And I can tell my message to Governor Newsom is the Trump administration is coming to California. We are going to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse. And I was told he was asked to give a speech on his signature policies, but he's not speaking, because what have his economic policies brought? Outward migration from California, a gigantic budget deficit, the largest homeless population in America, and the poor folks in the Palisades who had their homes burned down. He is here hobnobbing with the global elite while his California citizens are still homeless. Shame on him. He is too smug, too self-absorbed, and too economically illiterate to know anything.
Thank you very much.
Let me know if you need any further clarification.
All right, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we'll talk about the 49ers injuries.
In this clip, Joe talks about the 49ers injury conspiracy theory that has gone viral, and if it's actually true. Check it out.
Have you paid attention to this, Jamie, about the 49ers? About San Francisco?
Yeah,
Isn't that nuts?
It could be, yeah, go ahead.
They think it's real. So there's a disproportionate amount of severe catastrophic injuries that come out of San Francisco, and their training facility is right outside this power station.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, way more Achilles tendon blown out, way more knees blown out, way more like catastrophic ligament and tendon ruptures. Like, and they've been talking about it since like when the players started talking about it in like 2012, I believe. And people are like, oh, that's nonsense. And now the stats are in, and you're looking at the amount of injuries that come from this area. It's like it's not normal.
No.
A viral conspiracy theory claims that the unusually high rate of injuries among the San Francisco 49ers, particularly soft tissue strains, tendon issues, and unexplained muscular problems, is linked to chronic exposure to high-level electromagnetic fields, EMF, from a large electrical substation located adjacent to their practice facility and Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Proponents of the theory argue that prolonged exposure to EMF can interfere with cellular processes, including nerve signaling, muscle repair, and tissue regeneration, potentially leading to chronic inflammation and a higher risk of injury. Some online commentators have drawn parallels to studies on occupational EMF exposure, often citing effects on sleep, fatigue, and stress responses, though these studies typically involve far stronger or prolonged exposure than what would be experienced near a stadium substation.
And so you think what? If they're getting weakened by the water, by the
electricity?
Electricity.
Yeah, by the EMF signal. Look, EMF signals we know disrupt human beings, but to what extent? Like, to what extent does LED lights, and to what extent? Is it minimal? Do you feel it? Is it not? Does it have a long-term effect? Does it take forever until it actually compounds? But they're looking at the data from this one training facility. See if you can find something on it. Because a lot of stories have come out this week about it, where people are starting to gather up all the data, and they're like, "Hey, this is not normal.
No.
Like, this is a much higher percentage of severe injuries from this one camp, which doesn't make any sense."
Well, it's like that Aaron Brockovich thing, where it's like you find a place where a lot of people are getting the same kind of cancer, and it's like there's a reason.
Despite the theory's popularity on social media, the medical and scientific communities have largely dismissed it. Experts point out that there is no credible evidence linking EMF exposure at the levels found in urban electrical infrastructure to increased rates of sports injuries. Nevertheless, the 49ers' ongoing injury struggles, spanning multiple seasons, have fueled speculation and concern among players, agents, and fans. Some athletes and analysts point to the team's aggressive style of play, high-speed offensive schemes, and heavy training loads as contributing factors. Others highlight the role of artificial turf at Levi's Stadium and the cumulative toll of high-contact practices. While the EMF theory remains scientifically unsupported, its persistence underscores a broader public fascination with unseen environmental hazards and their potential impact on human health, particularly in high-profile sports contexts.
Training facility.
Right, and this is
where the electrical substation is, and there's the field. I mean, cut the shit.
Whoa.
That can't be good.
So it's literally radiating onto them.
That can't be good. But I don't think it's going to affect the game. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like being there all the time, practicing there all the time is what's going to weaken their body.
Welcome back, y'all.
Yeah. So what'd you think of that little video there?
Dude.
That's some nuts stuff, man.
That is crazy.
Got a power plant right next to the stadium, right next to the practice fields. Like, you were talking about the power lines that used to run over people's house.
Well, right, yeah. I mean, back in it was like mid 90s, 2000s. You know, a lot of people were having issues, and kids were getting like cancer. Yeah, cancer, leukemia, and just all kinds of different other illnesses. And they were saying, of course, the powers that be are like, oh, no, it's not from that. It's not from that at all. And it's like, well, what's it coming from? And the more studies that they do, they find out
coming from the sky.
Yeah, it's coming.
It really is. It's coming from the power lines right over your head.
And I remember my mom and stepdad had bought a house out in Southlands, and it was right next to some of these power lines, and just standing out, and you just hear it just humming.
In my old neighborhood, kind of like where you used to live, where those apartments that we used to hang out.
For real.
There's a you know, these power lines that run, I think, pretty much across Aurora.
Yeah.
And you literally, there's a park right underneath them, right across the street from a school. And, you know, you go walk over that park, throw the football or something like that, and the whole time you can hear this.
Yeah.
Well, that was pretty good.
Well, right. It was pretty good. But
like the whole time you hear that. It's nuts.
And it's like in that video, you know, Rogan says that, you know, they show that those affect people. It's you know, it's a fact. So, and you look at, and we were, you know, me and Justin were talking about some of the players that we know that have been hurt on that. You know, Purdy is like constantly hurt, and Kittle, I mean, that man, you know, just doesn't recover from.
McCaffrey already had problems, and now he can't seem to ever get healthy. And then when he is, something bad happens to everybody else.
Yeah, so I think there might be. I think there's a link to it.
Especially because it's weird, like knowing the Shanahan clan,
right?
That Mike Shanahan. I remember John Mobley getting hurt, and Mike Shanahan fined him for getting hurt because he wasn't conditioning well enough to keep himself from getting hurt. And that's a real thing. That's why you condition, so you don't get hurt as much. And so I can't see his son not kind of having the same mentality. So it's like he's probably driving himself nuts going, what do I have to do to keep these guys healthy?
Right.
It's like, well, the answer's right across the street, man.
Yeah. Well, you know, and
that's where the Super Bowl's at this year.
That's crazy. But, you know, they spend so much time in that facility, especially, you know, during football season.
Right.
And you're like, well, how come they get, you know.
Well, probably like 8 months, 9 months out of the year they're in there. And then who knows, like working out. They might even be off season working out in there too.
And I know injuries happen, but but it's really weird with them because you don't see this with other teams. You know, people get hurt, but they heal.
Yep.
These guys are kind of healing and still getting hurt and not, I don't think that
they're never healing all the way up.
Right. And it just, I don't know.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is nuts.
I'll show you a little picture here, how close there's a power station to our stadium here in Denver. And, you know, it's obviously not right next to it, but it's just kind of weird that, you know, EMFs have such an immense effect on the body, and yet these things are surrounded by metropolitan and residential areas. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, man, it's funky. And of course,
hey, we got power. We got enough power to light the studio and make the TV come on and the camera and the microphones power up. We can talk to guys and everything because of those things. So I guess we're risking it. It's like, you know, you weigh it out.
But it's just good and the bad, but man, at least
there's no. Are there power lines? Well, I know that this studio has like these giant power transformers that are hooked up to the front of this building.
It's like, kind of insane. It's a little scary.
It is sometimes.
I'm just like, whoa, dude.
Everybody make sure you bundle your cords. No fires around here.
Ground everything.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to have a little segment for you about replacement theory and whether you think it's real or not.
Let's talk about what exactly is going on in the United States and why it's led to the battles in, say, Minneapolis. What's happening in the United States is a wholesale change of who lives here. Total demographic change. Now, some have called this replacement. And the question is it really replacement? So we thought we would look it up. If you were someone following along at home trying to figure out, what is everyone so mad about? What is this great replacement theory? You might go, as almost everybody does, first to Google and just type in great replacement theory, and AI would come up with the following result. This is hot off Google AI. Here's what it says if you look up great replacement theory on Google. We're quoting. The great replacement theory is a debunked, meaning untrue, far right, meaning Nazi, white nationalist, meaning racist, conspiracy, claiming that white populations, particularly in Europe and the US, are being deliberately replaced by non-white immigrants and minorities, often orchestrated by replacist elites, leading to demographic shifts and cultural erosion, fueling extremist violence and anti-immigrant sentiment. That's one sentence, by the way, a run-on sentence, but it is AI. And it's quite a sentence. And it tells you point blank, this is not true. Anyone who believes in it is deranged and is stoking violence simply by believing in it. And it goes on to explain how this works. The theory, quote, posits that mass migration, declining white birth rates, and political agendas by elites are intentionally replacing white populations. It has inspired numerous acts of mass murder, violence, with perpetrators often citing this theory. Research shows that endorsers of the Great Replacement theory often hold antisocial traits, authoritarian views, and negative attitudes toward minorities and immigrants. In other words, once again, believing that the population of this or any other country is being manipulated by people in power, and the people who are born here are being replaced by people who weren't, believing that is not only wrong, it's misinformation, it's been debunked, it's also dangerous. You can kill people by believing that. Well, how does that work exactly? It doesn't sound like a cool, objective analysis of the theory of replacement. It sounds instead like, well, a political screed, but maybe even more than that, it sounds like an article of religious faith. You're not allowed to believe this. Only bad people believe it. It's apostasy. It could lead to death believing that. And that seemed a little emotional for us. So we decided instead to consult the science because obviously we believe the science. And the science, as always, begins with numbers, things that are quantifiable, that are measurable. And one of the ways we know the truth about who lives here is through the census taken every 10 years. It's in the Constitution. And that provides us not precise numbers, but a pretty accurate general picture most of the time, and certainly over time, of who lives here. So let's start, because it's an easy and obvious place to start, at the beginning of the post-war era. Peak America, 1950, the first post-war census. And I think everyone would agree, whether they're right or wrong, that this is a period remembered as the best time in America, 1950. The United States is an industrial power. It's the leader of the West, if not really the world. And America domestically is pretty harmonious, thriving, happy. Let's take a look at who lived in America in 1950. And let's do that by taking a closer look at the population of the top 6 cities, which at the time were, and this tells you a lot right here, New York was number 1, Chicago was number 2, Philadelphia was number 3, Los Angeles number 4, Detroit number 5, Baltimore number 6. Kind of hard to imagine, but in 1950, not that long ago, within living memory, those were the numbers. So here's what they were. The biggest city in the United States then and now is New York City. New York City in 1950 was 90% white. 71 million New Yorkers out of 7.9 million were white. Chicago in 1950 was 86% white. Philadelphia, over 80%. Los Angeles, 94% white. 94% white. That's almost an ethno-state, actually, at that point. Detroit, Michigan, home of Ford, GM, and Chrysler, 84% white. Baltimore, steel and shipping capital of the Mid-Atlantic, 76% white. That was 1950. You know people who were alive in 1950. Maybe you were. Here are the numbers today. Baltimore, 27% white. Detroit, about 10% white, down from 84. Los Angeles, again, 94%, about 37% white now. Philadelphia, 36%. Chicago, less than 30%. And New York City, again, the biggest city in the country, is now around 30% white, down from 90% in 1950. So you think to yourself, well, maybe these cities have just shrunk, and a lot of them have. Baltimore, Detroit, Philadelphia, Chicago, all much smaller than they were. What's interesting is that New York is bigger than it was. About 1 million people more live in New York than they did in 1950, and yet the proportion of whites has declined, well, from 90% to 30%, but so is the absolute number. New York has lost about 4 million white people, even as it gained 1 million people in population. Now, what is that? Now, in some of these cities, there are economic reasons for this, right? A lot of African Americans moved up from the South to work at the auto plants in Detroit, to work at the harbor, at the shipyards, a steel plant in Baltimore, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But not all of it. And in New York City, almost all the demographic change is the result of immigration. And that began in 1965, which is definitely within living memory of a lot of people watching this right now. So that's another and very long way of saying the Great Replacement is not only real, it's the realest thing there is, and it's provably true. So why would they go out of their way to tell you it's a debunked, far-right, racist conspiracy theory believed in only by antisocial lunatics who commit mass murder? Well, probably because it's true. And in telling you that, whoever wrote that, you have to ask yourself who would write that and why. And it's not just, of course, an AI in Google or Wikipedia. It's everywhere. There's almost nobody who admits that that's true, even though it's provably true. It's indisputably true. In fact, there's a list on Wikipedia of all the people who believe in it, the thought criminals who believe this could possibly be true. Apparently people who don't have access to census numbers don't believe it's true, but the 19 figures in American public life who do have access to the census numbers somehow believe this is true. But they're telling you it's not. But what they're leaving out, of course, is that demographic change is a constant through history, and it is almost always mass demographic change, turnover, replacement, is almost always the result of human choice. Populations change because leaders decide they should change. Population demographics, the question of who lives within the borders of a country, is not only a concern of leaders, of governments, it is the main concern. It's the main thing they think about. So the rest of us imagine that the government concerns itself with collecting taxes, schools, national defense, and those are all concerns, but we are thinking way too small. The people who run countries, who map out the future of civilizations, think in much larger terms than the rest of us. This is not a guess, by the way. This is true. They think in terms of who lives here, what are they like, how many of them are there? And there are plenty of levers that they can move to change those numbers. Obvious and not so obvious. War being the most obvious. Killing people, unleashing pandemics on them. Obvious. Less obvious? Encouraging different ways of living. Encouraging birth control or abortion. Scrambling the genders. Encouraging women to work outside the home has one of the largest effects on demographics, of course, because women who work during childbearing years are much less likely to have lots of children. In fact, many of them won't have any children, and that has proven true over time across the world. So why would governments do this? Well, that's kind of the more complex question. They do it. They've always done it. They would do it for a couple of reasons. One, to meet a short-term economic goal, or even a long-term economic goal. Short-term might be who's going to pick the grapes in California. Oh, better get some Mexicans. Understandable. Most people are familiar with that. Others might be longer-term adjustments to changes that no one can really control, like AI. Oh, wait a second. We're not going to need as many people here because machines are going to do a lot of the work. How are we going to support these people? That might be another reason. And of course, there might be darker motives or more basic motives, like the innate human desire to conquer other people, to replace your group with my group. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's the entire story of history. Mass movements of people by force has been a constant since the Babylonian captivity and probably before, unrecorded. That is the story of history. And it's all around us, but we don't even notice.
Welcome back, y'all.
Yeah.
Hey.
What's happening?
What's going on? Thanks
That's
for
some
sticking
crazy
with us.
stuff, man. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to offend anybody or put anybody off with that video. and you know, you can feel whatever way you want to about Tucker. I see what he's saying in a lot of different ways. For one, you can't deny the influx of immigrants trying to flip over the population in America. You know what I mean? You can't deny that, and it has nothing to do with race. And, you know, I think maybe the only thing I would change about his conversation is whether it had or not to do with white people. I think it has everything to do with Americans, American citizens.
I think that's kind of where my thing is that where I is that, we are having a lot of immigrants coming in and taking over, are trying to take over powers of where we have worked hard for, our generations have worked hard for,
right?
And we're seeing an influx of just immigrants from everywhere, China, from all over the place, trying to take over our country. You know, a lot of our farmland's going to China. It's crazy, and I think that's where I am. It's not so much to take the white out, put in American, because that's where my stance is like we're being forced out. It's like even in Saudi Arabia and Arizona, they have a grip of farmland growing down there, and they have control over a mass amount of water rights, which is insane to me. Why is this country that doesn't need anything to do with America have property? They own the property, and it's like, why are we letting this happen? And that's
you
where
can see the population change in the UK, and just like what he was saying, you know, he had numbers, so it's not like it wasn't, you know, some made up stuff. But what I'm saying is, like, when you've got in the UK, they're having riots out there. They'll show you what they want to show you on the TV, but they're having riots out there because they are being replaced by the Muslims.
Right.
And then you look at Minneapolis and see what's going on up there with the Somalis and trying to take over Minneapolis. I mean, it's not like it's a made up thing, and it's not like I'm trying to stoke the flames of any kind of fire. This is reality. And so it's like, well, what is going on? And I'm not saying that they're going to be able to replace people, but what he said about people having babies is true. You know what I mean? Most of these young people, they don't want to have babies. Their only concern is to go to college and have some kind of career afterwards. They don't care about being families.
Yeah. And that's just weird. I mean, the family thing has gone out the window.
And that's why we talked about it before when I said the birth rate is going down. So have as much sex and babies as you possibly can. And I'm not just saying white people. I'm saying everybody.
All us as Americans.
You know, the whole racist thing in my mind, it's dead. It should not exist.
Right.
We should not even be looking at people that are, you know, outside of our bodies that are any different than us. They're just human beings, like everybody. But when you start scamming, you start taking advantage of me or anything like that, I don't give a damn what you are.
Right. It sucks, man. And that's where I'm at with it. I'm just like, man, my stance, fools. Strange facts you may have never known. What's up, y'all? So here's another strange fact y'all might not have known. Did you know your brain does not feel pain? So in a lot of cases, when people have surgery on their brain, they actually keep you awake, so that way that they know that you're still conscious and available. And they'll actually still talk to you. Like, how are you feeling? Are you okay? They'll ask you questions like if you're actually feeling anything, and nope, you don't. So that is a strange fact you may have never have known.
That's crazy, man. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
like, why does my brain tell me everything hurts all the time?
Well, that's because your body hurts. You're not your brain. That's why. So there, I don't know. It's a strange fact, man. But
guess I'm an idiot.
Well, no, there's just stuff that we just never known.
That's nuts.
I thought it was kind of cool. So
yeah,
there you go. All right, y'all.
You guys have a great week.
Right on. Thank you again. Peace. Rock on.